Yo, what is up? Welcome to Ninja Geek Games. I'm going to fly you to the moon and let you sing among the stars. Well, that's not true. What I am going to do is give you a detailed review of Moon from Sinister Fish Games that will be hitting Kickstarter shortly. But before we start, I need to tell you two things. One, this is a review copy of the game where the components are subject to change from what you see here. And two, this is my first Sinister Fish game that I've played. Therefore, I am really excited to tell you about it. Moon is a hand drafting card game with resource management where you represent the leader of one of the first settlements on the moon, which apparently is lovely this time of year. In this 1 to 5 player game, you need to build structures that provide resources and ongoing abilities, use rovers to borrow aspects of another player's settlement, as well as compete for the majority of 5 specific areas of your base. The game is played over 3 eras, where during the game players will collect heart tokens that represent popularity as word gets around of your developed settlements. The player with the most popularity in the final scoring phase is the winner. Let's take a look at the gameplay. The main mechanic of the game is the hand drafting, so we're going to take a look at some of the steps involved. Now, this is just a basic part of the setup, and we've missed out some aspects, but we'll refer to those later. We have the flag reward area for scoring popularity, expedition cards that provide you with special bonuses, and then the 3 types of structure cards that are based on era. This is the base that will be unique for each player, and you also start with a few rovers as well. In each era, every player will receive a hand of structure cards that is dependent on player count, and these represent the buildings that you can construct on your turn. These cards come from the deck that correlates with the current era. Generally speaking, these cards provide better bonuses and more rewards with each era. Now, players will also receive some form of expedition card that is also dependent on era. But if you are the first player, you'll receive this card instead. And these cards provide special abilities that players can activate during their turn. Now, each player's turn is very simple. They choose one structure card from their hand to either assimilate or construct. To assimilate, you discard the hand to gain the resource, but to construct, you instead place the card in your settlement that may have a cost. There are also some other actions that can be carried out, but we'll discuss these later. If you discard a card for assimilation, then you gain any resource of the type listed here, of which there are 4 types: energy, bio, water, and metal, and these can be spent in a later turn. Instead, you can choose to construct to place a card from hand into your settlement that may or may not have a resource cost to expand your base into a space jungle of concrete and steel. In total, there are 5 different types of structure cards. Blue are production structures that are placed above your base, and these can be stacked as you gain more throughout the game. At the start of each round, you will gain all the resources as shown on your base and your production cards. Yellow are flag cards that are also stacked above your base. And these are important because they act as a prerequisite when buying other cards. If you want to construct any structure cards in hand that have flags, you must already have the depicted flag in your settlement, and flags also play a major role in scoring popularity. Grey cards provide ongoing ability or hearts that you can claim, and pink cards are flip structures that have powerful abilities that are activated on flipping, and you can carry out this action once per turn. Lastly, there are a few red cards that are special structures that have unique rules. So as the game progresses, you'll gain more and more structure cards as your settlement develops. You'll need to think about balancing these because ultimately you need production cards to generate your resources at the start of each era. Spending these to construct grey or pink structures allows you to use some cool effects in ways to increase popularity, but some require you to own a specific flag card first, so you'll need those too. Constructing or assimilating are compulsory actions, but you can also carry out some optional actions such as using the unique ability on your expedition card or sending rovers out to other settlements. At the start of each game, each player has a base that has a unique combination of flags and resources, as well as a few rover tokens that start in the settlement. As one of the actions other than assimilate or construct, players can take their rovers, go off-road, hit some sick drifts, and visit another player's settlement and park up on one of their cards. If they choose a production card, they get the associated resource. But if they visit a flag card, they can borrow that flag icon to construct a card with the same prerequisite, although you still have to pay any associated cost. So, are rovers returned to you at the end of the round? Well, no, not quite. The player whose settlement they are on gets to claim them for use in the next era, so make sure you use them when needed, or you could offer other players lots of opportunities for this bonus action. So, what is the main mechanic for gaining popularity here? Well, at the start of the game, you create an area of reputation cards that players can claim during their turn if they meet the requirements of the card. There are 3 levels of cards termed bronze, silver and gold, and you can gain these having a particular number of resources or flag types within your settlement. Once you've met the requirement, the card then sits in your play area and can offer immediate or ongoing bonuses, and the reputation cards are randomly selected during setup. At the end of each era, there is a scoring phase where each player makes use of their flag cards on their base. Each player will need to refer to the flag reward card that has popularity hearts stacked on each flag icon that represent industry, science, housing, food and transportation. The player whose settlement has the majority of each particular flag icon then claims the popularity hearts that will increase with each era. What's more, any ties are won by the player with the most unused rover tokens. That's right, if during your turn you choose to use your rovers in another player's settlement, you could potentially be setting them up to claim popularity tokens on a particular flag reward, or ensuring they win so another player doesn't. Or, yes, there's one more, ensuring players also tie with rover ownership, as this means they gain nothing for that flag. One last mechanic for gameplay popularity is the value of X. Yes, this game includes algebra. The reward card has an area called X that stores a variable number of hearts each era, and some construction and reputation cards provide popularity based on X, so there are multiple ways to score. So during the game, you need to consider your flag cards for future purchases and scoring, rovers for that sneaky benefit and breaking flag majority ties, the value of X, and trying to meet the requirements of the 9 reputation cards before the other players. It seems a huge amount of information to retain and process, but I was pleasantly surprised by how very little analysis paralysis there is and the short downtime between turns. Speaking of which, what happens if you have a hand of cards that offers very few options? Do not fear, my space-loving friend. The game has a hand drafting mechanic where after each player has taken one turn by selecting a card, your remaining hand of cards passes to the next player, and this includes the unique expedition card, and you then get control of a new hand. And this will continue until all structure cards are played, ending that era with the score phase that's already been discussed, where at the end of the 3rd era the player with the most popularity wins the game. Moon appears a wonderfully designed game which has an excellent scoring system and hand drafting mechanic that is elegantly simplistic, promoting strategic planning and forward thinking. You have options to focus on 1 or 2 tasks or spread yourself more thinly to build your engine over time. As the eras progress, the structure cards become more powerful, as do the reward cards, and the game scales very well in the multiplayer version, removing cards or changing first expedition card depending on player count. Replay value is high with regards to the selection of reputation cards, your base, and the combination of unique expedition cards in play. Now, this is my first game from Sinister Fish Games, but after playing I am certainly going to check out Streets and Villages, although this theme does appeal to me more. The artwork is bright, vibrant and quirky, and I understand that for the final production copy of the game, the rovers are going to be larger, which is a good thing because I'm having trouble getting in, and the energy resource tokens are going to have better contrast with the printed icon. Also, the game comes with some nice card dividers for storage and quick setup, and looks to provide additional token storage as well, which is always welcome. The rulebook so far is well written and leaves no ambiguities, and although I've not played the solo mode, I can tell you the multiplayer game just gets better and better with each play, where this fairly small box contains quite a remarkable game. So if you enjoy your hand drafting and fairly quick engine building games, then Moon is definitely one to watch when its campaign goes live on Kickstarter. I hope you enjoyed the video and thank you for watching. Please take a minute to subscribe to the channel. This is Ninja Geek Games. Cheers.